Well, that was fun. Man. It was a very fun wild card weekend. Thank y'all for tuning back into us. Appreciate all the love you guys been showing us. Like, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're back for another episode of the pod. Excited to be here. It was a great wild card weekend. A lot of fun games went down. A lot of sad games went down. We'll talk about it all. Excited to get into it. Also, as we do, we're here in LA. We're going to have a quick mention about the Rams to start off, and then we'll jump into what's going on in the playoffs, make our picks for the next round as well, and then go on about our day. So, again, thank you for tuning in. It's your boy G with Alec, another great episode of the pod. And excited to get this thing rolling. Let's jump into it. Okay. So before we get into all the playoff things, what I wanted to do first, as I said, we're here in LA. I know I have the Ravens stuff on right now, and we're going to get through that reason later on. But first, again, being here in LA, talking about the Rams real quick before we get into all other things, I wanted to actually give a quick, apology to Sean McVay because I kicked him out the door too quick. I say he ran from the grind last episode. I said he was going to get his Amazon bag and all that kind of stuff. And since then, it's been reported that he's actually going to stay and figure things out and wants to tough it out with these guys and go through the process of rebuilding this team. So salute to him for not running as we thought he was going to do. And Alec, what do you make of his return to the squad?
Yeah, I mean, obvious plus for the Rams, whether they're choosing to stick with the current core or rebuild, retool. I think it's obvious plus to have your head coach that you trust to take you to the promised land already. So definitely that. There was that thing on Twitter, like Aaron Donald had in his bio, like former defensive lineman for the Rams. So I don't know what's going on over there with the allegations of potential retiring between McVay and Donald. I don't know.
Right.
We'll see how that plays out, I guess, in the offseason.
Yeah, we shall see. Hopefully he doesn't retire just yet. It seemed like, though he did have some injuries, if you guys had injuries this year, of course, we got hit with the bug. I still think that this team is salvageable and that some of the guys on the score, as we discussed, if they retool properly, can be back in contention as we saw them a year ago. They still, at that moment, are the reigning champs. So I'm excited to see how they bounce back. How do you see, with McVay on the sideline, the Rams returning back to form next season?
You said, how do I see it?
Like, do you think it's possible?
Oh, I don't think it's possible, like, in the next immediate year, just because I think that year is going to have to be, like, a bridge-type quarterback. I mean, I guess they could go the Derek Carr route. I don't know how trustworthy that route is.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends what they're trying to do, whether they're trying to, like, cash in on an immediate rebuild for next year to make a Super Bowl run, or whether they're like,
that's the spot they're in right now. They already sold all their picks and things for the most part, and are still dealing with that as we're still in the midst of the Stafford Goff trade with all those picks that were switched between them. So we don't have really anybody to picks to rebuild on. So we're still in this period of FM picks and just buying heavily into the now. So if Derek Carr has to be the solution for a year, potentially, if Matt Stafford isn't able to go, I think that's what we have to do. Because I think this team, there are pieces there still. We saw that Cooper Kupp, when he's healthy, still is a top dog. We saw when healthy that Aaron Donald still is a top dog. It's just getting the guys around them to all get on board as well. That will then get us back in contention. So I'm excited to see what they do. It's going to be a long road. It's going to be some tough decisions to make, but we'll see how they work things out. Fun things on one side of LA, but some sad things on the other side. The Chargers just cannot get out of their own way. Nope. Blew a 27-0 lead to the JAGS this last weekend. I picked the JAGS myself, and I just had believed, as I said, that Peterson and Lawrence would find a way to outplay Herbert and Staley there. But I didn't think it would go like this. I will admit. I was very surprised that they couldn't hold on to this lead in the second half. And what do you make of that game we saw from the Chargers last week, Alec?
Yeah, that embarrassing. That it felt like it was a wrap in the second quarter. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was pitching an all-time disaster class in the first half with 4 interceptions.
Can I say real quick?
Yeah.
Wow. many people, while of course you give the Chargers their credit for getting that lead, at the same time though, in watching it, a lot of that was the Jaguars in a way just giving it to them. Like there was a lot of plays where Lawrence made the wrong read and
defense was schemed up pretty well.
And things of that nature. So when I'm saying that to say when that's the case, it wasn't necessarily the Chargers enforcing their will. It was more so the Jags folding in the first half. So when the Jags fixed their flaws in the second half, it got back to the game that we thought it was going to be. And as a result, the Jags ended up finding their way to, I guess, out scheme and beat this Chargers squad as they had got too comfortable in that half as well. So we see that in instances. We saw it on an even grander stage or in grander situation when it was 33-0 with the Colts and the Vikings. The Colts just kept on, the Vikings kept on making mistakes and things. And you just got to, I'm just saying, in watching games like that, when you see teams jump out into those leads, you just got to see how it unfolds because things can flip in an instant. And once the Jags figured it out in the second half, they went and ran away with it as they did in the end. So yeah, definitely just salute to them. And yeah, sad for the Chargers there.
Yeah, I'll agree, but slightly disagree there. I think I agree with you on the offensive side of the ball for the Chargers. Like it wasn't necessarily, they were kind of handed great field position like by the defense. I think the defense came out dominant and was schemed up well by Staley. And had Trevor Lawrence looking like an inexperienced quarterback in the first half. And there were clear jitters there. Like because he's a much better quarterback than what he showed in the first half.
Correct.
It was shaping up to be an all-time like horrible performance in the playoffs. But he matched the touchdowns with the interceptions in the second.
Right.
So he had a complete 180 turnaround in the second half. But I felt like the indictment on the team is the offense, and we didn't see the cracks in it in the first half, like you're kind of mentioning, because they were kind of handed good field position and didn't have to make these long drives for touchdowns. But we saw in the second half that the offense was like clearly the problem there, and I don't want to fully blame Justin Herbert because I don't feel like he had a bad game. It's just like there was nothing special about it.
Right.
As an elite quarterback, like you gotta make something happen. I know that Lombardi is catching a lot of the ire of everyone as he should,
and he got fired as a result too.
Exactly. But I felt like you needed a little bit more from Herbert if he is that guy that you believe he is, and put up some kind of like I guess they scored 3 points in the second half.
Yeah.
Something like they weren't able to put together a drive really. So
it's that, and also it's little things where yes, you may kind of be a guy that's following your OC's call and just doing it as he says and all of that. But it's things where okay, we're still passing the ball heavily. We're not getting a lot out of the run game in the second half. We have this lead. Though we're not calling a lot of run plays for whatever reason, the least I could do is at least I'm gonna run the play clock down every time and not snap it until there's 5 seconds left. Or whatever the case is, to at least chew clock some kind of way.
Yeah.
But it felt like they weren't even doing that. They were still just playing normal
right.
and it wasn't working. And just kept doing 3 and outs and just giving the ball right back to the Jags. So there was no intention. There didn't seem to be any intention to chew clock from players or the coach or anything like that. As a result, they kept on
and that's Marshawn Staley too.
As they did. So yeah, a lot of blame being pointed all around. I mean, as we said so far, the offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi has been fired. Staley has not yet. There seems to be folks that still believe in him in that building. Yeah. And with that, do you think that's the right move? Should they keep Staley going forward or look elsewhere?
I think I'm not opposed to keeping him from the defensive minded aspect, but you got to have an OC in there that's like top notch, because we saw what happened when their scheme wasn't up to par, which is crazy with the name like Lombardi being a trash OC.
Right. It doesn't even sound right.
But I mean, if you keep him, it's because you saw at the very least flashes of elite defense from the Chargers, and you are looking for more of that. But yeah, they're gonna have to couple it with a really great offensive mind, because if they get off to a slow start, I think you got to get rid of them. But I could see remaining with him because you saw some pluses from the defense, and they did make the playoffs. But it was one of those situations where it's like pre-game where like if he has an embarrassing loss, he probably should be out of there. Like that's kind of close to an embarrassing loss. So,
I don't think it's kind. I think that's as embarrassing as it can get right there. So yeah. To me, I say, yeah, he should go. I've been questioning him all season. I kind of flipped on him as he got in the playoffs and things, but seeing how he folded yet again for reasons that have been the issue for the times they had problems, it's been that. Yeah, I say that he has to go, especially if there's other options as grand as Sean Payton, as people continue to point
that's
out.
That's the other thing too. So, if you don't know, like, that you're gonna get Sean Payton, like I don't know what
they're gonna get him, but all things say that the Chargers are close to, if not at the very top of his list. So if things can be worked out to get him and Fangio, who could keep that defense rolling as it is, I think that has to be explored. So if they decide to go elsewhere, then so be it. And then I guess with that as well, as we talked about with Corey, what else would it take for this team to break the curse that clearly still is stuck to them?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, yes, we think coaching, health too. Like the health suffered from the coaching a little bit because, as it's been talked about, Mike Williams didn't get sat early enough in the Week 18 game and got banged up, and then missed this game, which would have been crucial for the big playability against the Jaguars. So I guess part of it's coaching. Part of it is a little like a better run game, like between the tackles. Like obviously Eckler is a great pass catching back, but couldn't really get it going on the ground. So a change of pace back, I guess. But I mean, like they have weapons. They just tend to get the injury bug and tend to blow leads in close games or not be able to finish in close games. So maybe some of the experience will help now. Like another year under Justin Herbert's belt as the QB. He's got some playoff experience now. You know what that environment's going to look like now. Maybe that helps as well. But yeah, it just like it seems like the Chargers are going to figure out a way to charge her like every year. I don't understand. Like they're up 27-0. I thought it was over.
Nasty, man. Very nasty. So yeah, I don't know what it'll take, but they just got to keep faith in Herbert at least and hope that he'll be the guy to break that for them going forward. And hopefully he does that for him. So good stuff there, or hopefully there's good stuff there going forward. But another place, the last place we do our last breakdown that has a bright future now. The Ravens, as I pointed out, though we had a tough loss in the playoffs that we'll break down afterwards. Many fans, as I've been pointing out all season long, have been very frustrated with the coaching staff, in particular our offensive coordinator Greg Roman. He decided to step away after this season, or he walked away before getting fired, essentially. So appreciate you either way for going on to other opportunities, and excited to see how this team changes going forward. He had a good start with us and had put Lamar in position to be the MVP that we knew him to be early on. But as we went on in his career and with this team, adjustments were never made. And we kept doing this heavy run offense, and we kept leaning heavily on our running backs and tight ends and wide receivers and the outside game that we needed to really take the team over the top. What was never improved upon. Even with the addition of trying to add on talent, we did bring in receivers that may have not been top tier. Yes, and things of that nature. But either way, the offense, regardless of who the talent was on the outside, didn't seem like an offense that would even embrace that type of talent to be there to begin with. So bringing in a new offense coordinator and opening the offense up seems to be what the focus is this offseason. And I'm excited for that. We definitely could talk about the game itself because the game was sad. But what do you think about the Ravens and the move they've made in the last couple of days?
Yeah, I mean, like it sounds like from all Ravens Twitter, from Ravens players liking tweets, from
I was trying to tell you, bro. There's no one that wanted him to stay. Like, I get some of the stuff you were trying to say about some of the things he was putting in place and the lack of talent and all of that. But it was so glaring that the scheme itself just did not work anymore, and there were no adjustments being made. That it was like, bro, we can't keep doing this. So yeah.
I just basically all Ravens brass. What I'm saying is it seemed like everyone was on the same page that they needed to move on from Greg Roman. So congratulations to you and your Ravens fandom. Hopefully you find the guy that what Lamar wants. He's supposed to be like in part of the decision-making process of selecting the new OC. So hopefully you find a guy that's a good fit for Lamar in the offense. And yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Is there questions about John Harbaugh as well?
Doesn't seem to be. A lot of fans still have a long leash for John Harbaugh. So even in some of the things that we saw, we still are okay with him being our head coach, and definitely support him still. It was just the guys he puts around him that often puts us has us scratching our heads. So seeing who's going to have being our next OC definitely going to be interesting. But it doesn't seem like he's lost his voice in the locker room. Doesn't seem like he's disconnected from the players or the management. It seems like that side still is in sync. So I'm fine with him being the head coach, and excited to see what pieces he just adds around himself and around Lamar.
I feel like he's been a good head coach overall, but there has been some cases, at least in the last 2 seasons, even in this playoff game against the Bengals, where it's like some of the decision-making late game, especially clock management too, has like been kind of an issue. And then last year it was going for 2, which if you're more aggressive minded, you may have liked that, but it didn't pan out any of the times really that he went for 2.
Well, so Greg Roman is the one doing the play calling. John Harbaugh, obviously, as a head coach, where he listens in as well and will add his voice when he wants certain decisions to be made. But Greg Roman was more so the one to point at in regards to the management and things of that nature. In regards to plays like the 2-point conversions, as you're pointing out, John Harbaugh, that's when he would step in. That's also when he would turn to the players. So it was a thing where the whole team was in sync about that. So as much as we are maybe mad at the result, the reality is the decision to begin with was everybody was in agreement on doing those things as we did. So I'm fine with Harbaugh and then the way he moves and how he tries his best to be a player's coach and listen to what his guys have to say and embrace their passion. But yeah, just hope that he better picks other coaches around him that also have the same sentiment and want to put players in the best position, because there needs to be better talent on this roster to reach the expectations that we have. Excuse me.
Yeah, that was the last thing that I was gonna say, and I think that goes to your next question. On if you don't get a wide receiver 1, like, you're not winning anything. So I think that has to be the priority. It's been saying that for like 5 years at least. You gotta, like, I mean, I'm sure with the new scheme you're gonna be less predictable, but just having both phases of the game. I mean, we even talked about it with the Bills when they were like at the height of their offensive prowess last year. They were still very like predictable that they're pretty much going to pass the ball. They're not going to run it at all. And it's kind of the flip for the Ravens in a sense. Like, if they're throwing it, it's probably going to Andrews. If they're not, they're pretty much going to run the ball. So getting that outside threat, I think, is going to be key for Lamar and just opening up the Ravens offense and opening up their possibilities of challenging one of those top tier AFC teams to get to the Super Bowl.
We had a press conference today, and Harbaugh made it very clear he's looking to improve the wide receiver room. So excited to see what the draft holds. But we keep doing that, and that's the way we often lean. There are good receivers in this draft again, so I'm excited to see who they pick. And also, as we discussed, excuse me, I don't know why my voice was going out like this. But also, D-Hop, as we mentioned, is a big target who the Cardinals are very clearly trying to move. So on every list that you look at, Ravens are top of the list of teams to go after him. So if we make that happen, him plus a draft pick, plus Bateman coming back, plus Andrews getting healthy, plus likely emerging, seems like it'll make for a grand, potentially a grand wide receiver room potentially next year. I'm excited to see how that works, because wanting to see Lamar continue to develop as great as he already is and established as he already is. Seeing how he continues to improve his game. I think having guys around to help him do that is crucial. So I'm very excited for all of that.
Realistically, y'all going to end up with like Larry Fitzgerald as your wide receiver, like some receiver past his prime.
We're going to get Alan Lazard. We're going to get Smith and Jogba from Ohio State.
Allen Robinson going to make a return.
Right, yeah, or something like that. Which still is better than what we already had, but not the jump that we were hoping for. So, oh well. But either way, yeah, very excited for it all. As we said, as in their search, they are leaning on Lamar or turning to Lamar and having his voice matter. Hopefully, that also implies he's going to get paid soon. Hasn't been announced yet, but surely that seems to be something that's on the top of their list. So, seeing that Lamar is going to stick around, as we all believe that he would, I'm very excited to continue this as his at is on social media, this new era for the Ravens going forward. So good stuff in Baltimore. Now going on to the rest of the wild card weekend, there were a lot of other fun games going on. One was somewhat of a surprise because I was hoping for a good game, but the Niners smacked the Seahawks, bro. That was bad.
In the
second half, they really broke away. The Seahawks did put up a valiant effort in the first half, but once the Niners really buckled down, Seahawks had no match for them and really handled business. What do you make of that game? And we'll start on the Seahawks side. What does that mean for Geno in Seattle?
Yeah, Geno about to get the bag. I don't think Geno, like, individually had a horrible game. He did throw interception late, just trying to make a play, trying to make a comeback. But I thought he had a really great first half and a really great season as a QB and proved that he can be a franchise guy. So I think he should get his 30+ million, whatever. I don't know how many years it is because he's on the older side, actually. I think he's like 33 or so, 34.
Is he? Oh, okay.
But I think he is has proven that he is a franchise guy. So good news for him. And a slight shout out to the Seahawks because we thought they'd be single-digit win team, probably going for a top 5 draft pick.
Right.
And they fought and clawed and got themselves to the playoffs. So salute to them. They just ran into best team in the conference in the 49ers.
Here's a question: did they fight and claw, or did they finesse? Because though to us,
the Broncos,
because to us they all seemed like they were falling apart and preparing for a rebuild. Really, they just retooled and actually and got a lot of great picks as well, and asked us to rebuild for the future as well as their guy for right now in the interim. So it was more of a finesse that we all just didn't catch on until later on about. So either way, definitely, as you just said, salute to the Seahawks for all that they did. A lot of good pieces still there. I'm excited to see how they continue to bounce back next year and on.
Yeah.
On the other side, though, we saw what the Niners did. What do you make of that team, and are they still the clear favorite in the NFC?
Yeah, as I was saying, I think unfortunately the Seahawks just ran into the best team in the conference, in my opinion. Them and the Eagles is the matchup I want to see. I guess the Cowboys have a chance to spoil that in this upcoming week.
We'll get to it.
But Eagles and the 49ers are the two best, and I lean 49ers. And they showed why. Like, they're so dynamic on every phase of the game. So many pieces that can just break off long plays between CMC, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, and Brock Purdy. While he may have not played a perfect game, did exactly what he needed to do and ended up with a great statistical game in the end.
That's what his talent is. His talent is he'll do what you want him to do. He won't add no extra flair. He won't add no extra dynamics to the offense or whatever. He just comes in and just checks all the boxes that you want him to check and goes on about his business. So, I definitely appreciate what he's doing in that offense. And, I'm excited to see what this Niners squad does going forward in these playoffs.
Yeah, and the defense is the best in the league and has been for much of the season. And they continued that trend in week 1. I think they'll continue it throughout the playoffs, which is why I think they're a heavy favorite to make it to the Super Bowl.
Agreed. So excited for all of that. Something else I am, I guess, cautious of, I will say, as we kind of already discussed, even though I do appreciate Purdy individually for this team, I am also, I guess, worried about I call it the purdification of the league going forward potentially. I don't want the QB spot to be, I guess, diminished. How am I trying to say this? Actually, let me say this properly.
The evaluation of
I guess the evaluation of the quarterback is what I'm worried about. I don't want Flash to become overhyped and too much skill to become an issue, and guys that just come in and just do what they need to do to become the new norm. I think there still is grand value in Lamar Jackson. There still is grand value in Mahomes and Allen, all the other guys that we see as the top dogs. Though we do see a system where you can just plug and play a random whatever type guy that comes in and just check the boxes. I think we still have to make sure we hold up all these guys that have supreme talent too. So I know there are a few guys in the upcoming draft that could follow suit and will benefit greatly from Purdy, what he's doing right now, the Stetson Bennett's, and maybe even the Will Levi's and guys like that who will come in and just check all the boxes. But definitely want to salute the other guys as well, the Bryce Youngs in the draft and all those type of guys who are coming in with superb talent as well. So I guess that's somewhat I was trying to say. Do you see how that could become a trend, though, going forward with the success of Brock Purdy right now?
Yeah, I was gonna say, in other words, you're saying you don't want the black quarterbacks to get hoed in the draft.
But no, let's go ahead and go there. I agree with that. I don't want black quarterbacks to all of a sudden become they're too flashy and
I agree.
Lance lose his spot because he's doing too much because this other kid can come in and will just play the game the right way as the coaches want it. So if we don't go fully there, then I don't want the black quarterback to lose his value because of what guys like Purdy can come in and do.
Yeah, I was going to say this upcoming draft is a great example of that, where you had CJ Stroud and Bryce Young as the clear top two quarterbacks that should come off the draft board first. And then now we got people talking about Will Levis like he's potentially the second.
I call him Levi's. Levis, whatever his name is. I don't care. Yeah, he's not them. He's not them. He's good, but he's not them.
Right. He didn't really even have like a great statistical year for Kentucky this last season. So to see him make that jump, just like Zach Wilson made the late jump in the draft after his pro day throws against.
They don't want to learn, man. They will not learn. So it's going to be the same thing over again. Somebody's going to get hosed because they got too excited about some pro days. So oh well.
So I can understand where you're coming from. I think that won't matter for the competent organizations. Like I think competent organizations with great scouting departments can truly see the talent in guys and are trust in their organization to develop the talent that they see in guys as well. Because some more athletic, more dual threat quarterbacks may be a little bit raw as a passer, but have the tools to be able to be elite passers, as we've seen like a Jalen Hurts do.
Exactly.
So I think good organizations aren't going to make the moves that the Jets did to get Zach Wilson like that. I think good organizations are still going to trust in the talent that they've seen the entire year from these really good black quarterbacks and make the right decisions. But the incompetent ones will make the Will Levis pick or the Zach Wilson pick.
I also, even in that, I hope these incompetent franchises realize that in order to have Brock Purdy, you have to have McCaffrey. You have to have Mitchell,
you need every piece around.
You have to have Debo. You have to have the top defense in the league. You have to have all of that as well for Purdy to do what he's doing at the I guess I don't want to call it minimal, but for the example, the minimal level that he's playing at. So I hope they realize that as well when they're making these decisions. You have to have a whole bunch of other talent there still for him to thrive. So we saw Stetson Bennett work that out in Georgia, but going somewhere else in the NFL is a whole other story. So that's just something that caught my attention, and we'll see how that ripple effect actually plays out going forward. But for right now, still, as I said before that, do want to salute Brock Purdy for what he's doing in the Bay and continue to keep this team afloat. So good stuff there.
Even with the 49ers, while they did take Purdy with the last pick in the draft, they also did draft in previous years Trey Lance, who is a dual threat guy as well too. So like they see the importance of having a uber talented guy that may be a bit of a work in progress, but has showed promise as well too. So,
Purdy was not the plan. So to your point, I get that. I'm just saying now that it's worked, I just don't want other teams to be like, okay, we can just do that instead and be just fine. This is not how it goes.
You should be fine with other teams doing that because that means they probably won't succeed. Ravens got a better chance.
Like we said, we shall see how it all plays out. But good stuff with that one. Moving on. The Bills survived versus Miami. The Bills were another team that just kept on getting in their own way. and were almost handing the Dolphins the game at some points in it. But in the end, found a way to hold on and get the victory. I believe it was 34-31, and move on to the next round. With that, though, as much as it was the Bills kind of handing Miami the game, Dolphins did play up some impressive performances in themselves. Skylar Thompson did a little bit better than expected, things of that nature. But obviously missing out on Tua and even Teddy Bridgewater, who's the backup ahead of him, he were very missed in that offense. So with that being the case going forward, how should Miami handle its QB room?
I think Tua's got to be the guy. I think with Tua they win this game.
Yeah, yes, but I'm just saying in regards to his injuries as well. And I'm not saying Skyler's a guy. I'm saying more so because they have two guys that were their guys but keep getting hurt. Should you have Tua with the Skyler as the backup type thing, or you go for a more sure guy? You even try to reach for I don't know. I can't even think of a name, but someone who's maybe a starter now that could be more of a reserve role, like find your next Geno some kind of way that could potentially could pop off later on as a backup to Tua.
I think Bridgewater is a fine backup, but maybe you prioritize getting someone else in there to be a backup. I don't think Skylar Thompson is the guy. I mean, in this game, he was 18 of 45, 220 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. So he had a statistically bad game. He made a couple plays late that were surprising.
They almost saved it, but not enough.
But yeah, no, I don't think Skylar is a guy that you really want on the football field. It was kind of their last resort as he was a third string. But I mean, maybe prioritizing a backup guy because you've seen with Tua, I mean, a couple more concussions, it might be a Andrew Luck type of situation where he just retires early.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think that should be a point of emphasis for them, knowing that with Tua's injury history, he's been pretty banged up.
Yeah, so I for sure say they have to have a sure backup. I do like Bridgewater a whole lot, but the reality is he's been hurt a lot as well. So if he has to be move out the way for somebody else who's more sure-footed, then so be it. But I sadly don't think you can fully just rely on Tua to be your guy going forward because we see the injuries that he continues to have. So it is what it is, but hopefully Miami works it out. On the other side, excuse me, can the Bills just stay out their own way the rest of this playoff run?
I mean, I have them losing next round to the Bengals, so I don't know if that means that they necessarily have a bad game. I think this is a competitive game. It's a game we missed out on, unfortunately, because of Damar Hamlin's injury. Glad he's doing a lot better, by the way.
Correct.
But yeah, I mean, this is a matchup between two of the best teams in the league throughout the season, so I think it will be a close one. But yeah, I guess in a way you could call it getting out of their own way, because I think it comes down to late game situation most likely, and we've talked about Josh Allen sometimes being loose with the ball, sometimes wanting to take shots that aren't there. So I could see late game interception being the difference in the game. And I do trust a Joe Burrow more than I trust Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen's been talked about as the cemented number 2 guy, but as we've discussed in recent weeks, I would gladly have Burrow over Josh Allen.
No, Burrow's number 2 to me.
What is that?
Burrow's number 2 to me.
Yeah, no, and I think I'm with you right there. I understand the dual threat you get with Josh Allen, and that's a real plus to his game that not a lot of other guys have. But I think I would take Burrow 2 after Mahomes. So I think between these two teams, the defenses are similar levels. I know the Bills have a couple injuries, but they're similar levels of defense. And yeah, I think it's going to come down to a one possession game, and I like Burrow over Allen in that.
It's weird. As much as I did say I had the Bengals in my pick, as much as I have said that Burrow is ahead of Josh and all of that, I didn't get a lot of faith in Burrow in the Bengals.
Ravens got a great defense
after this Ravens game. I know the Ravens had a great defense, and they did hold the fort down even with the offense struggling as it did. But seeing that I don't know. I just didn't get a lot of faith. I get maybe that was the reason why. But I just didn't get a lot of faith in the Bengals after that last game. And though the Bills are a different squad, it's going to be a toss up. I think I'm going to lean Bengals, and we'll get to that later on in our full picks.
Sure.
But through the Bills, I think there is a way for them to get to keep to find a way to win this game. And it's more so less about what the Bengals are doing and more about what the Bills, like as I said to our question, staying out their own way and not making a whole lot of mistakes as they have done in recent weeks. So, or all year, as I've been pointing out, truly. So we'll see if that happens. I believe the game is in Buffalo, correct? So that'll definitely be to their advantage.
Sure.
And we'll try to see that. And yeah, we answered all the questions I had about that, just all the points that we made. So we'll see if Josh and those boys can I will say, like, and get it done there.
Despite what like mistakes they may have made, I believe they've won like 8 in a row as well. So
quietly,
they may have made some mistakes, but they're still a really good football team and have been able to prevail even with the mistakes. So to that point, like it like I said, it is a toss-up game, so they may be able to prevail, but I do think they're just coming up against a slightly better opponent, in my opinion. So
yeah, agreed. So we'll talk about that more when we have our picks, but I'm excited for how that plays out either way. Moving on to other games in wildcard weekend, 2 more. The Giants beat the Vikings, as most folks had predicted. The Vikings were exactly who we thought they were. I don't even know what question to ask. I think we just have to acknowledge real quick that they were, as you said, they were frauds from day one and proved to be just that in the playoffs. As I said, Vikings home games are home games for the other team. The Giants were in there real comfortable, got the job done, and it is what it is. Yeah. Any thoughts on the game from that side?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only people surprised were Vikings fans that they lost this game. They got the 13-4 record. They dethroned Rodgers for the division, but no one was afraid, especially of this defense. The defense has been Swiss cheese pretty much all year, especially in the secondary. And Daniel Jones was just picking them apart. Like he had an all-time great quarterback playoff performance.
Yeah, you're right. Didn't see that coming.
300 passing, I think 70 rushing, 2 touchdowns. He pretty much made no mistakes. And yeah, I mean, he's earning himself some money, like we talked about Geno as well.
For sure.
But yeah, he showed why no one really feared the Vikings. They are who we thought they were. Pretty much exactly that.
They are exactly who we thought they were.
Only one thing that surprised me was that they were able to keep a hold on Justin Jefferson, because I thought regardless Jefferson was still going to get his.
So did I.
with their game plan, they were able to shut him down. I think he had 7 catches, but it was only for like 40-something yards.
Yeah.
So that pretty much won them the game, because no one was really able to get over the top on them or get a big play against them all game. So
the Giants have a playoff winning formula. They have good defense. They have a good running game, and then they actually have their offense beyond the running game as well has opened up enough where it can control the pace and get them victories as we saw. The receivers have been really impressive in recent weeks. People trying to point out, though they aren't the biggest names of folks, the Isaiah Hodgins, I think it was, and guys like that. They come in and just do what they need them to do on the outside, while Saquon handles things down the middle. So yeah, it's been very impressive from them. And on the note, I put apologies to the Giants, kinda, and the kinda is only because it comes against the Vikings, who we all doubted to begin with. But I do want to give apologies to the Giants because we wrote them off. We said, Giants reality. We said they're just going to fall off at the end, and they had bounced back and looked like a team that I don't know if they're going to get past this round, but they're going to put up a good fight this game for sure. And definitely have to credit them for even getting this far to begin with. So salute to Brian Dable, Daniel Jones, and all those guys who have continued to do great things there. Saquon, of course. So any further note on the Giants real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be mad at Dable getting Coach of the Year, like between him and Shanahan. But I think Dable's done a tremendous job with the turnaround of this Giants squad. And I thought he was a big reason why they were able to dismantle that Vikings team in that first round game. So salute to him for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So great things there. And then lastly, a surprise by folks as we saw an upset coming, but it went the opposite way. The Cowboys, they donged the Bucks.
Yeah.
Bad. I forgot what the final score was, but it was a complete beatdown where the Bucks were just completely out of it from the jump, and the Cowboys imposed their will. That being the case, do you think this truly can finally be the Cowboys' year, or just a fluke because of the opponent that we saw them play against?
I think it may have been the Cowboys' year if they weren't coming up against the 49ers. Like if they had a slightly easier road, but I think they're coming up against the best team in the NFC, like I said. So I think the train stops here.
Momentum will be a factor at all, because even though the Bucks were weak, them just having a good game against anybody going into this game against the Niners, do you think that will have an impact at all?
Helpful for their confidence, but I'm worried about their secondary against the 49ers with Ayuk and Kittle and Debo. We know how great Trayvon Diggs has been, but the guys opposite of him have been getting picked on. So
Purdy isn't necessarily a guy, even though we gave him this praise, he's not really a guy that will pick apart corners like that.
No, but Shanahan's a guy that schemes up to where those guys are wide open too, and they get a lot of yards after the catch. So I'm a little worried about the Cowboys defense, and that was the main reason why I was high on the Cowboys early in the season, because how good their defense had been. But I mean, maybe like Micah can make it uncomfortable for Purdy early on, and he gets out of rhythm. I don't think it's an impossible scenario for them, but I do think they're just running into a juggernaut. So it's going to be hard for them to make that magical run for America's team. But yeah, as you mentioned, the Buccaneers, I think our judgment was clouded by, like, people who picked the Buccaneers was clouded by Brady being there still, because they were awful all year. It was a lot more all year.
It was a lot more Cowboy hate than Brady love. Like we saw what the Bucks were all season long. We're like, Brady's there, so maybe. But it is. Oh well.
Yeah. So we were just a little bit distracted by the goat effect. But yeah, that team was under 500 for a reason. They were the worst team in the playoffs, and the Cowboys dominated pretty much from start to finish, as they should. So I don't even really. Dak had a great game, so salute. But like I don't really like give that to him like as credit, because they beat a bad team. Really. You do it against the 49ers, like, you earn a lot of respect. So we'll see. We'll see what America's team can do.
Absolutely. And back to your other point with the game going as it did, Tom, good riddance. I'm waiting for this for a while.
You think you're
I don't know if he retires, but I'm sick of him. So wherever he goes, we won't see any more Super Bowl runs from him. Hopefully we see him on Amazon with MCVAY in a couple of years. So enough's enough of all this.
Giselle had a Dak Prescott jersey on?
I hope so, man, because I don't know what was going on with him, but he was all out of sorts. So tough to see, or good to see on my end. Tom go out like that. Hopefully it's the last time he's too old to be out there running around like that. It really seemed like he just couldn't even keep up with some of the speed that the Cowboys had. Regardless of what the talent around him, it seemed like his age is clearly starting to show. So I guess he wants to keep playing, and he has that passion, and because of his name, he'll get chances. But I don't think he should be on the field no more after this. So we shall see.
Last point: is there any concern if you're a Cowboys, Cowboys fan, Cowboys player, Cowboys organization, about Brett Maher missing 4 extra points?
For sure, absolutely, there has to be. And
that looked like the yips. Like
he has the yips, right. And I think they even went and signed a backup as like an insurance kind of thing, just in case he starts acting up again. So though this game was broke away, we saw an example in the other game. For example, the Jaguars game where every point matters. So all of a sudden you're missing kicks and all that kind of stuff. Even all those single points can play their part in the end if games are close. So we're expecting a good game versus the Niners, as you just pointed out. You can't have your kicker blowing points, because those are all needed in games like that. So I think that definitely could be a major factor next week. So very excited to see how that plays out, and we'll get more into a breakdown in a minute. But anything else about the Cowboys or the Bucks right now?
the BUCS fired Leftwich, the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah, I thought Todd Bowles might get the boot, or at least demoted back to defensive coordinator or something, because he was a great defensive coordinator, but it seemed like as the head coach, they could not get it going. So I thought that was going to be the move. I was a little surprised by Leftwich. I mean, they did struggle offensively as well, but I don't know if that was solely on Leftwich. And I don't know between him and Bowles who kind of gets more of the credit for their struggles. But yeah, I was surprised to see that move today.
Yeah, I agree. Also, though it was a very one bad year, seeing what they had done prior to that with this squad, I thought that would give them some leeway to have a season like this and be able to bounce back. But they chose not to. So it's going to be some new faces in Tampa Bay next season, and we'll see what they do to recover. So yeah. Very interesting things going on across all the league. Very fun first weekend of football. I'm excited and was very glad to watch it all, and even more excited to watch these games this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun ones. Going into our picks, and now we're here. We're going to make our quick picks for the divisional round. Starting here on Saturday, the game that we had picked as a matchup early on in the season as a fun one, and then we stopped caring for the rest of the way, and now somehow we're back here again. First game on Saturday, Jags at Chiefs. Which way are you leaning in that one?
I'm leaning Chiefs. Part of me wants to double down and say Chiefs blowout, but I think it'll be close just because the Chiefs defense hasn't been so stout this year. I think it'll probably be maybe 7-10 point game, but I think the Chiefs win this one. I'm very, very cozy. Picking Patrick Mahomes.
You bring out the cozy boys.
Very cozy
boys this week.
Yeah.
I want to be cozy boys too.
You're picking the Jaguars as your Bengals of last year, so.
As I said in our preview, I can see the Jags possibly getting the upset. On a fun side, Trevor Lawrence has never lost on Saturday.
Yeah, I know.
So
they already jinxed that though. Already talking about it.
Yeah, they already jinxed it. So I think that's going to be broken. Also, the reality is as well, though they had a great comeback versus the Chargers, if they have any slip-ups versus the Chiefs, the Chiefs won't let them come back. Yeah. So as much as I really want to pick the Jags, seeing how that game went last week, though it was on one end impressive, seeing why they fell down to begin with, I think it's going to be there to their detriment this week. And the Chiefs are going to hold on. But I do see the threat that they have, and I'm excited to see how the Jags look going forward. So so be it. But yeah, definitely Chiefs in that one.
I will say, while the Chiefs defense hasn't been good, they do tend to step up their game in the playoffs. Like in recent years, like they don't really have top 10 defensive finishes for the regular season, but they kind of elevate in the playoffs to, at the very least, like what they need. I mean, they've gotten to at least the AFC Championship game. So I think the Chiefs, while they have had holes in that defense, Chandler Jones and those other guys are going to put together a better effort in the playoffs as well. So,
and I guess for our entertainment, we have seen the Chiefs get too cozy sometimes themselves and let some teams back. They let the Bengals back last year in the playoffs, very notably, and things of that nature. Right. Any chance the Chiefs get too cozy on us on Saturday and let the Jags back in it?
Nah, I can't see that against a young team like that. We said Burrow, but
Burrow was young last year.
Burrow, I feel like, has also been tested to an extent that
the Jags have been tested. They were tested all season.
In a really weak division, though.
Regardless of the division, I'm saying their whole trajectory all year. They started off hot, fell down, and had to really find themselves again. And now come back last week and have that comeback that they did. So just to your point, I mean, I agree that the Chiefs win, but just to your points you're making, I could see how that could be flipped in the Jags' favor.
I trust Doug Peterson.
Correct.
That's kind of where my list ends as far as my trust to the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions in the first half. You're not getting away with that against the Chiefs. I don't think he throws 4, but a couple interceptions is all it's going to take. The running game can maybe get off a little bit with ETN. I think maybe the guys on the in the slot, like Christian Kirk, maybe can have a good performance. Evan Ingram, maybe. But I have a lot more faith in Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce to get it done against a more inexperienced team. I just like we said that the Chiefs are not the Chargers, so I don't see a similar scenario happening there.
I will actually even say this. I could even see a slight flip. It won't be to the same dramatics, but I could see the Jags maybe coming off of last week's win, starting off hot, and maybe get maybe even a touchdown, maybe even 2 touchdowns or lead early, and then kind of letting it go as the game goes on. So
saw what the Texans did to the Chiefs with Deshaun.
Yeah, exactly. Same type of thing. That was on my mind as well. So I could see that playing out either way. But at the end, I think as we both have picked, the Chiefs will be victorious. And excited to see how that happens. So good one there. The other Saturday game, Giants at Eagles. Who you got in that one?
Yeah, I got the Eagles. The Giants have been dominated by them 2 times, right? I mean, they got dominated in the first game, the Week 18 game. I guess that was when they were kind of resting guys for Philly.
Right.
But yeah, in that first matchup, it was when everyone was healthy. It was a clear blowout for the Eagles. I think they're the more complete team. They have the much better defense. I guess concern maybe about where Jalen Hurts is at, like how healthy he is. But I think this team has enough weapons to get it done with a 75% or 90% Jalen Hurts. Because I think the Giants are probably the second worst team left in the playoffs after the Jaguars. So, yeah, I think the Eagles have a fairly, I don't want to say easy because they're still a playoff team, but it's a fairly easy matchup in the second round for the Eagles. And I think they get the job done.
I can't call it easy, but I do think that the Eagles will win this game. I think this is another situation where the Giants might fool themselves coming off of an easy opponent in the first round to think that they can kind of have the same kind of approach versus the Eagles when it's not the same case. So I think the Eagles are going to come out, especially at home, and wanting to prove. And Eagles, being the right that they are, this is definitely a rivalry type game. So I think the Eagles will be ready for the moment.
Yeah,
a lot of guys on this team have a lot to prove. AJ Brown and folks like that have been ready for this moment and really want to embrace the opportunity in front of them. I think they'll do so. But yeah, I do think that the Giants will at least put up a good fight. So it'll be close most of the way, but the Eagles get the victory in the end. And yeah, very excited to see how that plays. Before we go on to Sunday, what I actually want to do, and this is something that just came to mind, but I think it'll be fun. So something fun that I've been doing recently that's become popular for a lot of sports folks. PrizePicks has popped off this year, really, for folks that aren't in states that fully allow for sports books and things. PrizePicks has popped up, which classifies itself more of like a fantasy sport technically, because you are betting on games, things of that magnitude. But you can pick based on player stats and things of that nature. So for the Jags game and the Giants game, real quick before we go on to other ones, I want to go out the things that they have for these games and pick. I want you to pick how you think it'll play out.
Okay.
First off, for the Jags game, they have Trevor Lawrence at 245 pass yards. He's getting over or under that?
I'll go over.
Over that?
Yeah.
And then for TDs, they have Mahomes at 2.5. You get Mahomes 2.5. You going over or under on that?
I'll go over. Yeah.
Over on that. Okay. I think I like both of those. One more fun one, I guess. Let me see what they have here. They have they don't have anything for ETN. They have ETN rush yards. They have him at 68.5. Over or under 68.5 rush yards for ETN versus the Chiefs.
I'll say under because of game script.
Okay. And then in the same kind of way for Barkley, over or under 1 touchdown or half a touchdown.
Okay, half. Yeah, I'll say over. I think he gets 1.
Okay, so good stuff there. Should be fun. I'm not going on the Sunday. Bengals at Bills as the game first. Who you got in that one?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it extensively a little bit earlier. I think the Bengals here in a very close one. I think this is a toss-up. Both these Sunday games I think are kind of toss-ups.
Correct.
But yeah, I got the Bengals here. I like Burrow over Josh Allen. I like the weapons that they have on the outside. The Bills have just seemed to come up just a little bit short in their runs, and I think Josh Allen, as we said, like tries to take shots sometimes that aren't there, and I think he gives up the ball in a late game opportunity, and the Bengals prevail in a close one. It's gonna be tough in a Bills home environment, but I think this Bengals team is hungry. We're tested by a good defensive Ravens team last week, and the Bills were tested by a fairly bad Dolphins team,
Right.
or at least shorthanded Dolphins team. So I think they'll be susceptible to a Bengals offense that's explosive. So I'm gonna go with the Bengals here. Go Bills, make it fun.
I was gonna say, I mean, we already said I didn't have all the same picks as you. We already did a full breakdown about the Bengals versus Bills, and we all kind of already alluded to the Bengals win.
Yeah.
So I had the Bengals as my Super Bowl pick already and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So technically I'm going with the Bengals, but I very much could see the Bills winning this game.
Sure.
I think at home, the impact of this game, both of them wanted to get up. Not only because of the game that it is, but also because this is a game that they didn't get to play early on in the season because of what went on with DeMar Hamlin and things. I guess that kind of tied the two teams a little bit in a way. So they both can get up and want to put up a good effort between the two of them. I think at home, Josh can get out of his own way enough, though I have a lot of doubts about him. And I think Joe may individually have a better performance. I think Josh can find a way to get it done. And I think it is going to be a very interesting game that I guess technically, because I already said I picked the Bengals, I'll go with them. But I very well could see the Bills finding a way to get it done. So, yeah, definitely going to be a fun one there. I guess a question I had was, who would this be a bigger win for, the Bengals or the Bills?
Well, like for the emotional aspect of it, I think for the Bills, just for this run after DeMar has gotten hurt. But I was going to say, honestly, I don't think it's the biggest of games for either team because both these teams have made it to AFC Championship games before. I think both of them really want a Super Bowl. Like that's really the ultimate goal, and have expectations that they can win it. So this game is a necessary step to get to where they want to be. But I don't feel like this is a legacy defining for either of them or whatever. It would be a disappointing loss for both teams. I think both teams have legitimate Super Bowl aspirations. Whereas some of these other playoff teams, like they're kind of like in a happy to be here stage. Like they want to win, of course, but the Jaguars and the Giants, like they're probably not gonna win. So
yeah, no, I agree. And then to that point, to the question, I said the Bills did because the Bengals already got to Super Bowl recently. They were in the Super Bowl last year and put up a valiant fight. And the Bills have been trying to get there and keep coming up short. So they come up short yet again. And then adding on all that went on this year as well, it'd definitely be a heartbreaking loss. So I think it's a bigger win for them. And then we'll see if they find a way to do it. But the Bengals will be able to play for as well as they try to get back to where they were. So good stuff there. I just thought some props real quick. They got Burrow at 275 yards, 275 and a half yards, over under 275 and a half.
It's a little high, but I could see him in the 280 range. So I'll go over.
They got Josh Allen at passing and rushing yards, 315. Over under 315.
And rushing.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm taking a lot of overs, but the combined makes me want to take over.
Okay. And then lastly, Jamar Chase, 7 receptions, over under 7 receptions.
7. I'll say under 7. I think he can still pop off with less than 7. So
okay. Yeah, should be fun stuff there. Excited to see all of that. I've quietly been locking in all these picks. So we'll see how well he does. Hopefully he makes you some money on that. Yeah, excited for all of that. The last game, of course, Cowboys and Niners, or Cowboys at Niners. I think you already said it, but just to lock in, who you got there?
Yeah, definitely the Niners. I think this can still be a very good game. The Cowboys riding high off that win. 49ers got a little bit more rest, a couple of days more rest, actually. It's Cowboys playing on Monday. They're at home. Got the elite defense. They got all of the pieces you could ask for on offense. They don't have the elite quarterback, but he's got the job done.
Right.
Cowboys have the better quarterback, but Niners have the better defense. So right. I think when you boil it all down, I think the 49ers get the edge. But I think this could be a really good game as well, too.
We talked about the moment where Purdy might have to make a throw. Could this be the game where he has to make a throw and doesn't, potentially?
I don't think it gets to that point in this game.
Okay.
I think probably against, like, the Eagles, like the next round.
So they'll maintain enough control in this game to not have to worry about that from him?
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about it as much this week.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Niners as well. I think they find a way to get it done. Though it actually was a close game last year, I don't want to diminish that. Seeing what this Niners team is this year, I think they're going to continue to, at least somewhat, impose their will, and that defense will keep Dak under control there, and they won't be able to manage that. So, also, I guess as I pointed out last week about the Chargers and the Jaguars, the coaching obviously plays its part, and I don't really trust the coaching staff for the Cowboys that much, as they continue to have their own woes, kind of like the Chargers have done themselves in late games and things. So it seems like they could potentially mismanage what goes on. Plus, there's the potential added addition of the kicker having his own woes and things of that nature.
Yeah.
There's a lot of small variables that if you look at it, could really mess up the Cowboys there.
Right.
So I'm going to lean for sure on the Niners there and believe that they'll get it done. So good stuff there. And the last thing from Prize Picks, some more fun ones. Dak and Purdy combined 3.5 pass TDs.
Dak and Purdy. So can they combine for 4?
Right. They both have really good run games, so it's possible that they just hand it off and let Pollard and Zeke and McCaffrey and all them guys eat in the backfield instead.
Niners have a really good run defense. I'll say over.
You'll say over on that? Okay. Let me find another one. The 2 tight ends for these games, Schultz and Kittle, over 1 touchdown or half a touchdown.
I hate these combined from different teams. Over 1.5? Is that what you said?
No, just half, just 1 touchdown.
Oh, just 1 touchdown.
One between the two of them, Schultz and Kittle. Will one of them get 1?
Yeah, I mean, Schultz is like one of Dak's favorite targets. Yeah, I'll say over.
Okay, and then the last one, let me see what I can find. I don't like that one. Last one. I tried to look up the kicker for the Cowboys, and they only have props on them. They won't allow you to bet on them just in case. They say y'all ain't gonna finesse us. That's easy money there. But I looked up one more. Who could I pull up real quick? McCaffrey, maybe. Ooh, McCaffrey rushing and receiving yards, 106.5 yards.
See, this is why I suck at pick'ems.
Yeah, over under 106.5.
6.
That's tough.
It is. Like Elijah Mitchell gets some of that, but he can eat up yards.
Right.
And then the catching too. I'll say over. You see, I lean over too. That's why I'd be missing a lot.
Right. I'm gonna take the under on that. I think Mitchell's involvement will be crucial. I think how they utilize Debo and Ayuk will chew into that a little bit. And I don't think though I think the Niners will win the game.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be open enough for him to get that much. That seems like a lot of yards to me. I don't think he's going to be eating up a lot of yards in that way.
Like 40 rushing, 60 receiving, and that's pretty casual for Christian McCaffrey. But
sure, but I think the pace slows down in this game a little bit, and it's a dogfight, as I believe it will be. I don't know if even that will actually be attainable, especially as I said, they utilize all their pieces as they do. So it's a good number, and I very well can see it happen. Real quick, they have trends and stuff on here. Okay. He averaged it last week. He had 140. He had 200 2 weeks ago. Okay. So it's very, very possible. Yeah. But I'm gonna take the under and take a chance there and see how it plays. But good stuff all around. Those are all our picks. No hymns on this week. We're just gonna focus on the games and enjoy what's going on in these playoffs. And we'll surely be back soon for all of it. Any note on anything we just talked about, Alec?
I don't think so. I think I'm gonna try to do some more best balls for the playoffs because all of mine I got knocked out last week.
Dang, all right. You ain't gonna get on Prize Picks too? No, not yet.
Maybe. I'm so bad at over unders. Like I used to do them on underdog, and I would get like 2 out of 5, 1 out of 4. Like,
no, you don't know how to play the game. I be on Prize Picks. So salute to them, or not salute to them. Yeah, we'll salute y'all when y'all sponsor us. But until then, thanks for the platform at least. I'm excited to continue doing this thing with y'all. So another good episode for y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Sorry for being choked up the last few weeks. I don't know, someone's in the air with this rain, I guess. But appreciate y'all for tuning back in. We'll be back hopefully this weekend to have our mid-season NBA awards. The NBA is still going along. I'm excited to continue to talk about that. Kings lit the beam in LA last night. I know Alec didn't want to talk about that, but we know what the truth is. So very excited to continue talking about them. Excited to talk about all the MVP race and all that going on as well. I'm excited to keep this thing rolling. So appreciate y'all for tuning back in. Like, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff for us. Appreciate all the love. We'll see you guys online, the comments, and all that good stuff. And see y'all, man. Peace.
Deuces.
Yes, sir. Light the beam.